You know as well as I do that Faneuil Hall has resounded with echo and applause of a denunciation of the Mexican War as a murderous war, as a war against the free states, as a war against freedom, against the Negro, against the interest of the working man of this country, and as a means of extending that great evil and damning curse, Negro slavery. Why may not the oppressed say, when the oppressor is dead either by disease or by the hand of the foeman on the battlefield, that there is one the less of his oppressors left on earth? For my part, I would not care if tomorrow I should hear of the death of every man who engaged in that bloody war in Mexico, and that every man had met the fate he went there to perpetuate upon unoffending Mexicans. A word more. There are 3 millions of slaves in this land held by the U.S. government under the sanction of the American Constitution, with all the compromises and guarantees contained in that instrument in favor of the slave system. Among those guarantees and compromises is one by which you, the citizens of Boston, have sworn before God that 3 millions of slaves shall be slaves or die, that your swords and bayonets and arms shall at any time at the bidding of the slaveholder through the legal magistrate or governor of a slave state be at his service in putting down the slaves. With 18 millions of free men standing upon the quivering hearts of 3 millions of slaves, my sympathies, of course, must be with the oppressed. I am among them, and you are treading them beneath your feet. The weight of your influence, numbers, political combinations, and religious organizations, and the power of your arms rest heavily upon them and serve at this moment to keep them in their chains. When I consider their condition, the history of the American people, how they bared their bosoms to the storm of British artillery in order to resist simply a 3-penny tea tax and to assert their independence of the mother country, I say, in view of these things, I should welcome the intelligence tomorrow, should it come, that the slaves had risen in the South, and that the sable arms which had been engaged in beautifying and adoring the South were engaged in spreading death and devastation there. There is a state of war at the South at this moment. The slaveholder is waging a war of aggression on the oppressed. The slaves are now under his feet, while you welcome the intelligence from France that Louis Philippe had been barricaded in Paris. You threw up your caps in honor of the victory achieved by republicanism over royalty. You shouted aloud, "Long live the Republic," and joined heartily in the watchword of liberty, equality, fraternity. And should you not hail with equal pleasure the tidings from the South that the slaves had risen and achieved for himself against the iron-hearted slaveholder what the Republicans of France achieved against the Royalists of France? Period. Frederick Douglass addressed to the New England Convention, May 31st, 1849. 1849.